Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Nfgeeks.
Yes.
All right, Alex, welcome back once
Yep.
again to
Thank you.
Nfgeeks.
Yep.
I'm sure all the NTs are thrilled that you're back.
Of course, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so you had a topic that you wanted to bring up about INTJs that I thought was pretty interesting.
Yes.
So and I didn't talk about it too much because I wanted to hear it straight up. So why don't you introduce it and talk about it to whatever degree you'd like to talk about.
INTJs and narcissism.
Okay.
Yes.
So just to make sure we're clear, are you saying that INTJs have a narcissistic side?
Sure, yes, and I'm going to elaborate on that a bit.
Okay. Now I'm going to let you define terms because this is your idea.
Yep.
How are you defining narcissism? So that we all know what you're talking about.
Well, okay. Well, I believe that everyone's narcissistic.
Sure.
Okay, and when I say that we're narcissistic, okay, because this is again from an INTJ definition of narcissism.
Sure, that's what I'm asking.
So when we're evaluating someone's worthiness or someone's value, we're evaluating them based on their intellect. That's how INTJs judge people.
Sure.
Okay,
I can see that completely.
So when an INTJ is saying that they are narcissistic, they're saying that they're smarter than everyone, that they're right. That's what an INTJ believes, naturally, yes.
That's right.
It's not just me, it's any INTJ. Ask them and they'll tell you that. And if they don't tell you that, then they're lying. But basically what I believe is, on that note, everyone believes that they are right. Everyone reaches a conclusion, okay? And they believe that conclusion is right. Otherwise, you would not reach that conclusion if you didn't think it was right. You may have doubts on it.
Sure.
Okay, you may accept the benefit of a doubt, and you may say, okay, well, until it's proven wrong, then it's true until it's proven wrong. But my belief, my understanding of the world is right. And that's what I believe everyone thinks, regardless, whether you're an INTJ or whatever. I just think that INTJs have accepted that about themselves, whereas others have more difficult time with it.
Okay, that seems pretty rational and, granted, a little egoist. But But what would make that narcissist? Why would you take it to that level?
Narcissism based on an INTJ's level of worthiness, basically, because a narcissist believes that they are worthy above all else.
Sure.
Okay, and a narcissist may believe that they're worthy because they're stronger than everyone.
Or prettier.
Or prettier. Or, more empathetic.
Sure.
Or, INTJ is judging it based on intellect.
Okay.
And that's how they rate other people. So when I'm saying I'm narcissistic, it's because of intellect. And it's not just me, it's any NT.
Okay. What have you observed this in other NTs or INTJs?
Sure, of course.
Can you give some examples, like just general? You don't have to be specific. But what would be some examples that you've seen of this?
Just that they give the sarcastic remarks, and they kind of do it in a condescending kind of way. And that you can just kind of tell by the body language, really. You can pick up on it. And, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, because they're fellow NTs.
Now, do you find, do you think that this type of narcissism is healthy, unhealthy, good, bad? Does it have a range? Like, do you see this as a failing or strength, or where do you place it within INTJ consciousness?
Well, like I said, I think it's something that everyone does.
Sure.
And
sure.
I wouldn't really...
the INTJ version, then.
Well, even then, though, I think that everyone does do it. I just think that that's more of an INTJ explanation of it. But I think that... Or at least... but I do think that everyone does reach that same conclusion that INTJs reach, just maybe not very as well as explaining it or whatever. But so I wouldn't necessarily argue it as good or bad or a failing or a weakness. I just argue it's something natural.
Okay.
That everyone does.
All right.
And that essentially it's neutral, actually. That's what I'd argue.
That's interesting. That narcissism is sort of inherently neutral. If everyone's doing it, then it can't be bad.
Right.
Kind of idea. All right. Would it be okay to change the word from narcissism to an egoism?
What would be the difference?
That's a good question. Okay, and you can tell me if how you feel about the
Okay.
what you think about this, not
Sure.
how you feel about it, but what you think. Okay, egoism is simply the belief, like the moral belief, that the self, any action that's for the self is the right action in the end. Okay, narcissism is a self-love where you're more important than everyone else and everything sort of revolves around you. So the way you're talking about it, I would lean more towards egoism and solipsism. Solipsism is that there's no reality but the self. Just straight up. Egoism is that an action is good. It's a consequentialism. If an action is good, if the outcome for the self is good. I would lean towards that because you're saying that people are coming to conclusions about the self, and obviously they're coming to conclusions for the self that they want to be good. No one's choosing a conclusion for themselves that they want to be bad. It may turn out bad.
And what was the definition of narcissism again?
A self-centeredness where a person thinks that they are the center of the universe and everything's about them, for them.
No, I think it would actually be kind of narcissism because it's the conclusion that you reach that you believe is right and true may not necessarily be about yourself. It probably includes yourself in some way because it's, again, I believe it's only natural for people to do that, but I wouldn't necessarily argue that it's essentially egoist because it's not like saying I want everything for myself. It's just arguing that your conclusion is right.
That you are the center of the intellectual world, or the center of the knowledge, or the center of whatever it is you're thinking of?
That my understanding of the universe is the right understanding of the universe.
Okay. Now that sounds like what Alfred Adler would call a superiority complex. Someone who thinks they're superior in all things. Does that relate to your narcissism? Not your personal narcissism, your idea.
There are some things I can acknowledge that I'm not good at.
Okay.
For example, poetry.
Okay. Sure. That's established.
Or, but no, there are things I can acknowledge I'm not good at. And, but then, to me, that would make sense, though, why I'm not good at it.
Okay.
It would make sense, and I'd be like, oh, I can't see how anyone else would be good at it. I know there are people that can do it, but, it's something I don't understand. And to me, that would make sense. And just like, to you, that would make sense about, I don't know, like, something you're bad at.
Mm-hmm.
Like, science.
Sure. Well, I'm not terribly bad at science,
mm-hmm.
but, other things I'm definitely bad at.
Mm.
Right. Coordination.
Yes.
For example.
Remembering things.
Yeah. I've been having lots of issues lately. It's been bad.
Yes.
All right, so I have a thought then. I want to try to expand it out.
Okay.
And that is that I find that, so this is the world according to Mike, I find that introverts in general have a certain level of self-absorption going on.
Narcissistic withdrawal.
Oh, really? That's what you would call it?
That's actually a term I looked up.
Get out, really?
It's a real psychological term I looked up.
Oh, great. What does it mean? I never heard of this.
Narcissistic withdrawal, basically what it means that because you believe that you're better than everyone, you don't waste your time talking to other people. Because you don't believe that they're worthy of your time. And that you don't believe that no matter how hard I try, I will never be able to convince you. And I do notice that among introverts, yes. Not just the INTJs, but just any introvert.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating because that's exactly what I'm sort of getting at with that. It seems that there's a way of expanding this out to the other introverts. So when I say self-absorbed, so I guess I should define that term.
Yep, sure.
I want you to imagine the metaphor, because we're NFs here, of an actual sponge. What happens with a sponge? It goes in water, it sucks everything into itself. Mm-hmm. And so I find that introverts, because all their energy or the direction of their energy is internal, everything's going into the self, everything's affecting the self, everything's hitting the self, everything's hurting the self. So therefore everything becomes about the self. Because it's all going into the self and hitting the self in one way or the other. This is particularly true, and I'm going to get a bunch of comments on this one. This is particularly true of the INFP and the INFJ. And the NFs, I find them to be very self-absorbed. Now, that's not a criticism, because I just made an INFP cry or get mad or something. It's not a criticism, okay? There's a whole other thing that goes on with extroverts. We'll probably get to that in a minute. And it's not necessarily bad. I mean, INFPs and INFJs are very internally thoughtful and very deep people, and that's one of the reasons why. Okay? But I find that they make it all about them in a pain sense, in a hurt sense. You hurt my feelings, and everything's about my hurt feelings. And granted, there's something NF about that in general. But I find the INFs are a little worse than that.
Emos, crybaby emos.
Yeah, kind of. I hate to say it. There's something very emo about NF anyway.
Yeah.
In a general sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that. So my experience of them makes me think, and also other introverts too. ISFJs, I've seen this in. So there's something about the introversion that may be causing this, or connected to this. So how does that resonate with you? That the introversion is one of the main mechanisms for
basically being an introvert. You enjoy the company of yourself as opposed to the company of others,
right?
And you internalize the world by yourself. So you feel like that internalizing the world with other people or getting other people's perspectives would generally be a waste of time for the most part. Not entirely, because you do acknowledge because after interacting with other people, you do acknowledge, okay, there are some people that do have good views and stuff, so you do it to a limited extent. But for the most part, though, the introverts prefer to do it on their own, basically. And whereas extroverts, on the other hand, are a bit different.
Yeah, that's right. First of all, we prefer the company of others. I know if I'm alone in this apartment too long, I get batty.
Right, and I also noticed too that even though you prefer the group, you don't prefer necessarily. Extroverts don't necessarily prefer an egalitarian group.
Oh, no, of course not.
They prefer them being on top.
Yeah, of course.
They prefer the group of a group of introverts basically just sitting around them.
Yeah, that's heaven.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, some extroverts want to be on top, like the ENFJ and the ENTJ. I would even say the ESTJ.
And the ESTP.
You think so?
They want to be on top on something.
Yeah, they do. They don't want to be on the bottom, that's for sure.
Right, no.
Okay, and I don't know if this is true about the other E's, but I can tell you this about me. So I'm going to say me. I think it might be true with the ESFPs, too. I don't necessarily want to be on top, but I do want to be in the center. I want to be in the middle. Okay, I want to be in the middle, the center, under the spotlight. I definitely want that. I always strive for that. God, Nfgeeks is like the version of that. Mm-hmm. So, yes, and I don't know what the name would be. I think of the word, maybe someone can post it. Like, it's not self-absorbed, it's something else. Jokingly, I often call it dig me syndrome. Dig me! Everybody dig me! Dig me! Look what I'm doing! I'm doing something, dig me!
Right.
There's probably a better term that would be parallel to self-absorbed, but it's not coming in to my mind.
Right.
And it would probably run on the same process, too. I mean, extroverts are extroverts for a reason that they think is right. Yeah, I think that. I mean, personally, I think that.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. Oh, go ahead. You were going to...
Oh, no, go on.
All right. So, in light of that, though, if we're all sort of operating in a narcissism, how can we function together? Like, how is this... Or let me put it this way, because that may be too broad a question. In light of the INTJ narcissism, how does that help you or hinder you functioning with other people? Of any type. You could pick your type, or just in general.
I rub your back, you rub mine.
Okay. All right. So mutual exchange.
Sure, yep. Or that sharing the ideas because I'm still giving you the benefit of a doubt. I'm still acknowledging the possibility of being wrong, the possibility of you being right, the unlikely possibility, but still a possibility nonetheless.
Sure.
And yeah, sharing ideas, debating with one another, stuff like that, basically.
Okay. So for a final thought, is there any sort of opposite version of this, like INTJ altruism?
Only if it's done through a logical conclusion. Like, if it's something, okay, it's something I have to do because someone was nice to me, and that it would only make sense for me to be nice back to them.
Okay. All right. But would you sacrifice yourself?
Only if it was someone like I wasn't worth living without, which even then, that would have to be a really, really good someone.
That's right.
Yes.
Like me.
Don't flatter yourself.
You do it in a heartbeat. All right.
Yeah.
Any final thought?
No, I think that pretty much summarized it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'll be glad to hear the comments.
Yeah.